Okay, Ali. So the first thing I want to ask you about today is the question of consistency. What does it mean to you?
Bro, man, consistency is like honestly the way first I understood of it was something very simple, and I thought it would be something very easy to do. Something like, oh, if only if I do this every day, it'll be done, right? Like so many videos I watched, so many things, like even hearing to like mentors and other people, it just felt so simple. Oh, just keep doing this thing again over and over again, bud. And that's it. Success is right there. You just need to do this. They simplify it so much. And then I kind of felt stupid that how come I can't just be doing something so simple over and over again? But then, and then I started practicing it little by little. And then I understood, man, it's not as simple as it seems. It's not just that you keep doing something over and over again and it's done. It's nothing like that. There are so many factors that I feel people don't address, right? And I would say that, like, can you say the same from your side too? Because I know you've been very consistent with a few things here and there in your life too, very recently. And
Right.
how's that been?
So my thing with consistency is, I approached it the same way as, a lot of people on the internet have explained it, that you have to show up and do the same thing, right? Whether you like it or not. And then it sort of compounds and leads to something epic at the end of the week or at the end of the month. And my problem with that is that, it doesn't really cover the subtleties and nuances of what consistency requires, right? I think it's a very blanket term that everybody likes to use, that, hey, just be consistent about something, and we take it at face value, right? Yeah, I just need to show up every day. So, yes, I am on the same page as you, and I think like it is far more complex than that when people are explained the idea of consistency. They're not explained properly. Then there is no depth to that explanation, and that's why I feel like a lot of people, they see consistency as something that is unachievable, or they see some consistency as something that just does not work for them, right? And there is this point you made just as you were speaking, where you said that. It's doing the same thing again and again every day, right? That's what you said. And if I was to ask you, I'm sure you've tried it, doing the same thing again and again every day. Did it result in something that created net positive impact, or was there a lot of friction you experienced as you attempted to sort of introduce consistency in your life based on this, surface level definition we have?
Man, I think I was a little bit blessed that very early into this consistency game, I came across a really good statement. I forget where I heard it, or which book, or which video, or was it from, but it went like this: that practice doesn't make it practice doesn't make it perfect. Practice makes it permanent. So I, being the guy, I when I first heard consistency, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go start doing this, not thinking the right way of doing it. So I understood that, man, again, I'm just gonna say this statement again, that practice does not make perfect, practice makes it permanent. So whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing, you do it enough times that becomes permanent, right? So the biggest thing in consistency was to do consistently the right thing, right? And I think that was the biggest issue, that first, what was the right thing to be done was to be researched, not that consistency was to be researched. That I first have to figure out what is the right thing that I need to do in order for consistency to work in my favor, right? And then let's say, and then I started with that, and then once I started with that, I kept doing it for a while. Let's say, let me just put it into an example. Wise, uh, uh, let's say workout. Okay, I was like, man, I'm just gonna start picking up dumbbells, right? Let me be very specific. I'm gonna start doing shoulder press. Okay, so like I'm gonna start doing 100 shoulder presses every day, pumped, right? Super motivated. Didn't think about, hey, there needs to be didn't focus too much on the process of doing it the right way. Never did a warm up before the 100 presses, right? So now I know that every day I'm also building muscle, but I'm also hurting myself by not doing the proper warm up, right? So this example, just to kind of put it into perspective, that consistency but the system of consistency needs to be perfected as well. And this perfection of this method needs to be revised over and over again, because as you become consistent, you find things that need to be changed over time in that consistency mode, right? Like you cannot be like, because consistency also requires growth. Consistency of the same thing over and over again, not having feedback if you're doing it the right way or the wrong way, leads you to the wrong path or might even make you stagnant. So I was like, okay, man, it's not just about being consistent, it's about being consistent with feedback of what you're doing and improving on it. So consistency took a bigger term, not just keep doing it, but keep doing it, keep getting feedback of what you're doing, keep improving on what you're doing, but keep doing it. So you see the full circle that it came about.
It's very interesting that the way you phrased it and how you're saying that, like it's not just about doing the thing, it's also about getting feedback on the thing you're doing, because that's the only way you can understand if you're doing the right thing, right? And I think like this point that you made, which is very interesting to me, is consistency is doing the right thing, right? Because a lot of people, I think, they take consistency at this surface level, and they think that it's a matter of just showing up day in and day out, and whether it's writing one line of your blog post or one line of code for your program that you're building, or whatever it is that you need to do, right? Because that's how they sell it online. And I have a beef with that, and I feel like it doesn't accurately capture that consistency is a very complex beast, and it's not something that can be accomplished on an individual basis. And you make this point that you need feedback, which is, you know um, something I feel is very important, because feedback doesn't always have to be external, right? Feedback can be internal as well. I don't know if you do this, like when you're consistently doing something, do you give yourself feedback like, hey, is this going somewhere? Is this resulting in, a positive outcome? Like, do you ever do that with your sort of like day in and day out practices?
Bro, I'll be very honest with you. And here I'm just going to use another example. Like, as you know, a few years ago, decided that going to be consistent about reading books, right? So picked up a book, started reading. Finished that, picked up another book, started reading. Never stopped, kept reading, kept reading, kept reading. A year went by, got 50, 60 books, to be honest, right? And then at the end of that, when picking up the 52nd, or it was the 53rd book, that's where it kind of hit me. I was like, okay, I'm reading, which is good. I'm
Right.
reading, which is good. But what's the direction now, right? I have created the habit of reading, but within this habit, what's the direction now? Okay, I've become a reader. I love to read, but what's the so as you say, right? Like, what's the direction of that consistency? What's the proper way of this? So then that got me thinking. I was like, okay, so now that I've become a reader, now that the first phase has happened, or has become concrete, or has become uh, a part of me. Let's put it this way. Now, how can I use it to my advantage even more? Just because reading random books here and there, right? Sometimes about faith, sometimes about discipline, sometimes about self development, sometimes about psychology, sometimes about philosophy, which is good. But I was like, man, what's the what's the direction in all of these moments? What was the best thing to read, or what did I love to read the most, or what helped me the most? Why don't I give this a direction, right? And I'm not saying complete direction, because you want to keep it interesting as well. People love variety, right? Like, we love to have a variety of things. So it wasn't just about, okay,
Right.
from this day onwards, I'm only going to read about self development, because that would kind of make it a bit boring. Even when I converse with people, it would just make me this guy who talks about self development. So then I was like, okay, maybe 70 or 60% could be about the things that I really love. 30-40% could be things about that I explore new, because I think that's a very important part of the human nature, that we love to explore, we love to do things that we are curious about, we love to have variety in life, right? So see, again, the point being that it took me 1 year of being consistent at something, and at the end of that year, I realized that, hey, I could make this even better. And since I realized that, the game has changed completely. And I'll take you one step further from this, which at the right time though. But this thing changed the game completely, because then I took it because then I took it in all other areas of places where I was trying to be consistent with my workouts, with my walking, with my thinking time, with my book reading, with my writing time. All these things took a direction, and since those things took a direction, man, it's it's different. The exponential effect that now that I'm seeing in things, it's different, bro.
So I want to take one step back here because you made a very interesting point, and I'm kind of like thinking about it as you were talking, and you said that you moved from like being consistent out of interest based to being consistent out of objective based. So you started consuming books, with an objective in mind, like you were hoping to get something out of what you were putting in. Am I correct in understanding that?
Yes, it was actually, it was a mix of two things. I wanted to do something consistent, and then I understood that it's easier to do something consistent, something that I like to do, right? And then I figured that I figured that I like reading, because and I'll give you a very honest answer. Like one of the first few books that really hit me hard was Atomic Habits by James Clear. That book I read, I was like, man,
Yeah, great
it,
book.
right, that changed everything in my mind. And then I think the one that I read after that was called Mindset. I'm kind of a little bit forgetting who the author of Mindset is, but it's all about growth mindset. And it just went on, man. I read so much such philosophy books, and then I figured that, man, I love philosophy, right? So I read so yeah, you're right that the idea was to do something. So so the idea was to do something consistent, but do something consistent, that something that I love to do, or something that I like to do, right? So that was
Right.
the very first step. Yeah.
So can I just ask on this
Uh,
one? So you
uh,
said that you were consistent for a year with your reading, right? And I understand that. So you read for a year, and then at some point you understood that, hey, now I need to shift my thinking. I need to continue with reading, but I need to be objective based reading. Now, obviously, like because you said you were doing it for a year, that I would assume that this wasn't like an overnight change, right? This was like a realization that happened at some point. Would you say that you would have had this realization from the start, or would you say that you had to first build that consistency muscle inside of you?
Bro, no, no, no. This man, this question is amazing. I strongly believe that the consistency muscle needs to be built first. I try to do the opposite all these years. It's not that this is the first time I heard about consistency. All these years I did hear about it, right? But nobody explained it to me the way that the 1% idea did, right? The James Clear 1% better each day kind of. Even though I
Yeah.
knew of it before, right? But for some reason, sorry, I digress just a bit, but there's a difference between somebody telling you and you realizing something yourself. So that's what the book did for me. It was a self realization rather than somebody else trying to make me realize something, right? Because my parents told me this thing since day one. You do a little bit better every day and things will be different. But did I understand? No. Until unless I read it for myself, it hit me at the right time, at the right moment, at the right age, at the right maturity level, at the right intellectual level, and boom, it had that effect, right? But again, to go back to your point, yes, it was first to build that consistency muscle, right? To get things going first, and then to improve, on it, right? So I'm just trying to. There's a really good statement that I remember from the book itself, from Atomic Habits. I'm just trying to kind of remember. It said that in order to improve a behavior, first you need to have that behavior, right? You cannot improve on a behavior unless, like, you cannot improve on a habit unless it's a habit, right?
Right.
So the habit formation part came first, which was to become consistent. And again, if you see, like, even from the start, when I said the idea was, I took up reading books. So reading books was a secondary thing, right? The first thing I was like, man, what can I be consistent at? If you see, now that you say that, even I'm kind of thinking back to it. The first thing, the lead thing was, hey, what can I be consistent at? Second thing
Right.
was I love reading books. Maybe I can love reading books so it becomes easy to do something. So the idea was to build an identity of being a consistent person, not to be a reader per se. Becoming a reader happened naturally, but the core idea was the identity of becoming a reader, of becoming a consistent person, not becoming a reader. So again, I hope that answers your query that
It does. It does. But I want to sort of like dive deeper into the building muscle part, right? Because if we're being objective based here, right? One of the things that with consistency that I see quite a lot is that most people will give up within the first 30 to 60 days of trying to be consistent with something. And I know you and I have discussed this offline many times where we've said that one of the reasons is because there is no immediate reward attached to what you're doing, right? So because that's the thing about gratification, right? We are creatures of, driven by rewards. If there is nothing for us to be gained, why do something, right? Why face the pain day in and day out? So this is something, like talking about the muscle building, the consistency muscle building. In my opinion, I struggled a lot with trying to build consistency in many areas of my life because there was no clear goal and there was no clear reward attached to it at the end of the day, right? And when you are trying to be consistent and you're hoping to achieve some sort of goal or some dream that you have inside of your head, and you are struggling every day to show up because there is no immediate feedback, it becomes difficult to stay consistent. Now, over the years, I've developed a few tricks to show up every day, but I want to hear from you and sort of like understand, have you done anything to keep yourself accountable to consistency, even when days are extremely rough, or when you feel like your motivation is not there, or when you feel like, man, I just don't want to do this today?
Man, it's like honestly, this instant reward and the feedback thing. I think this came to me very recently because I like again. And maybe I should share this with you that this is I read the Atomic Habits twice. One was at the early stages. One was now. This time I felt that I picked up on different points from the book than what I did when I read it earlier. Right, even when I was taking notes, even when I was highlighting stuff, I was seeing that I was highlighting different things. For me, the for me it was actually a little bit of coming not from I wouldn't say from a dark place, but coming from how I thought of myself. Right, like the reward system was that I just felt that I wasn't being consistent with how I looked at the world, how I looked at my how I looked at things. I always told myself I'm the one who's going to make this difference, who thinks this, who has a very good way of thinking, or who has a very liberal way of thinking, or a growth mindset. But then in my life, I saw that my actions were not kind of showing that, right? So then and then the crazy part was I realized that people around me, and by around me, I don't mean the person sitting on next to me on the couch. I mean in the world, people were like there was so much proof of success around me, right? So much proof of success, like, and then I was like, man, what's the like? I feel I have like I have access to everything. I have the same, and I have like honestly, I think what I'm trying to say is the desire. I think it's coming down to the desire. The desire was first before anything. The desire was first before anything, and this desire wasn't given by somebody. This was a self-lit fire. I don't know how, I don't know why, just felt as if I was I have to do more, I'm supposed to do more, or I am capable of doing more, or I don't know. So I'm sorry, I know it digresses from the point a little bit, but I'm just kind of going back in the past to find that why why did I pick up that book, right? Why did I want to do this? Because that's a big question too, right? Why do I want to be consistent? Like, and of course the answer is very easy, success, right? But then why isn't everybody doing it, right? If it's that simple, and if that's the answer, why isn't everybody doing it? Is it so I'm just trying to go back to the very first idea of this, that meant the desire to be knowledgeable, the desire to be ahead was first there, and then all I had to do was figure out a way. And then I don't know, was it by a divine lead or so that I picked up this book, right? I was like, okay,
Right.
I'm gonna read it, gonna understand it, and while reading it, he made it sound. And the good part is that he made it sound so simple in the book that I started doing those things. And in the
Right.
journey, I figured that it wasn't that simple, but I was so ahead in the journey anyways that I was like, man, now of course I have to do the difficult part, right?
Right.
I'm glad he didn't say. I'm kind of glad that since the start he didn't tell me how difficult it was going to be, or else that would have demotivated me, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'm kind of glad that I didn't start to do or to implement things after finishing the book. I started
Right.
implementing it as I think this is key as well, bro. That I started implementing things as I read the pages. Because if I would have waited till the end of the book to start, I would have had so much excess overload of knowledge and ideas that again that would have kind of uh, paralyzed me in that sense, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
so this was also sorry, yeah. So this was also key that as I read, I kept doing, and then I was already in deep, and then once I started with he started me off with shallow waters, then I was in deep waters, and then once I was in deep waters, I was like, Ali, now what? Am I gonna go back to? Am I gonna go back to
Right.
the shallows? I'm not going back to the shallows, bro. Deeper now. I've learned to
Yeah.
swim, so why not just go? Yeah.
Right. So there's a very interesting point you made earlier. I heard you say that the desire. Right. You used the word desire, and you used it very strongly. I sensed a lot of passion from you when you said the word desire, and because what I want to say to this effect is that I think when it comes to consistency, the desire to achieve a certain outcome is the most important factor, right? How strong is your desire to do that? Because if you fail and your desire is still strong, you're going to come back and try again. And I would like to give an example, if you'll indulge me for a minute. So, I know I've shared this story with you many times. At some time in 2019, or I think it was sometime around 2019, I made this idea in my head. I made this plan that I want to start working out daily, right? And I'm gonna show up Monday to Friday every single day, and I'm gonna lift some weights, and I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get in shape. Now, I wasn't planning to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger. That wasn't my goal. My goal was just to be healthy enough that when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm happy. That's it, right? Like, I look at that person like, yes, done well here. And I know my journey and how many times I failed. I mean, I started in 2019, I failed in 2019, I failed in 2020, I failed in 2021, I failed in 2022, 2023, and then in 2024 of March is when it just like I decided that no matter what happens, I will not stop working out Monday to Friday. Previously, I'd work out for 3 months and then I would stop, and there'd be these long gaps, like 4 or 5 months, and then I'd try to come back again to it. But you feel so demotivated. You start hating yourself. You don't believe in yourself. But this time it was about the desire for me. And my desire was that, I'm going to get in shape no matter what happens now. And I found it easier to show up every day of every week, Monday to Friday. And I kept doing this. And I remember when I hit my target goal of 1 year, which was in 2025, mid 2025 somewhere, when I hit that goal. And I remember, like appreciating myself, being proud of myself. And I asked myself this question: why did I succeed this time? Despite knowing why I started this, I still asked myself this question: why did I succeed this time? And it was exactly as you said, the desire. The desire in me was so strong to get fit, to get healthy, that it made me show up even on the days where I was like, man, I don't even want to look at weights, but I still did it. The workouts that would take an hour took 2 hours. I don't care. It had to be done. And I know you also said something similar about, like, it's on the list, it has to be done, right?
Yeah.
So this is one of those things I feel like people mistake when we talk about consistency. They don't understand that there are so many variables and factors involved that lead to a consistent lifestyle, and one of them is a desire. Ask yourself this question: why am I doing this, and what do I hope to achieve if I keep doing this? Right? If those two are not clear, then I don't think you can ever be consistent. Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
No,
Do
no,
you agree with?
bro, I feel you. And as you're saying, there's something is sticking in my mind that I just want to address as well. First off, thanks for
Sure.
sharing. And this part of you, I know, right? Like that the the ups and the downs and the failure, but you still kept at it. And I know we both know where you are now, which is on the consistency path, right? First off, congrats on that, Naman.
Thank you.
So but one thing I want to ask you, and this question is kind of directed towards an answer. So I just want to see if it takes you there. This desire that you had, that you failed and that you came back, that you failed and you came back, right?
Hmm.
Behind that desire, right? I what was behind that desire? What was like why did you fail? And I'm not sorry, not why did you fail? Why did you come back over and over again? Like I understand you saying that it was desire, right?
Right.
But if I was to just ask you, was there something else other than desire over there?
That's a very interesting question. And I think in my head, the answer is a part of me somewhere deep inside believed that I can do
Yes,
this,
yes, my bro. I think
right?
belief, bro. This belief
Yeah.
that you had that you could do it, right? That you've seen other people do it, right? So
Yeah.
you knew it could be done, right? That kept you go like, man. Then you understood that the only reason it's not happening is maybe because my system is not right, right?
Yeah.
But you have all the proof in the world that it's been done. So sorry, I got excited over there, but this is what I was trying to lead you to, that the
I
idea of
share your excitement.
that is this idea of belief, right?
It is.
Desire without belief is like, if I know that somebody else has done it, why not me? Of course I can do it too. If somebody else has built muscle, why not me? He is
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like we both been blessed with the same, right? So it's just a matter of my system that might not be. So I think so belief also plays a big part in your desire, because that's how your belief is what is how you look at the world, right? That's one of the biggest filters people have, like whether it's auditory, whether it's vision filter, whether it's thinking filter. Belief is the biggest filter of your thoughts, your vision, your desire. Everything stems from this belief system, right?
Yeah,
So
I'm glad you pointed this out. Like, I really am glad because you're absolutely right about the belief. I mean, you have to believe in what you are doing, right? You cannot do something just for the sake of doing it because that leads to nothing, right? And yeah, I'm just like really quickly, I was just thinking about it again. Is when you said that if someone else can do it, so can I. I that statement I believe in very strongly because I have been the kind of person in the past where I've said no, I can't do that. Right? No, I don't know if I'd be capable of that without ever trying it, without even considering it, without even assessing, like, well, what does it even require in the first place? Just a quick surface level look and like, oh, no, I can't do that. Right? And I've stopped doing that now because the first thing I ask is like, well, let me understand the situation. Let me understand what the problem. Let me understand my capabilities. And then let me figure out whether I believe I can do this, right? And that's how I approach issues and problems and endeavors and goals right now. Like, I don't discount myself anymore. So you see what I'm trying to say is that it's not that I'm saying that I can do anything that anyone else can. It's more like I'd rather understand it first.
for like this for me, I feel you. I've like, let me just put you like with this, we said about, if somebody else has done it, right? So it could be done. I think that's one of the biggest motivating things that I kind of understood, that hey, again, just reiterating that point, that if somebody else has, and why not me? It's just about a matter of doing it the right way, right? I've also like, very recently I was watching this interview. I think it was this athlete named, or this fighter named Ilya Taporia. I think that's what his name is. He said something really cool, man. He said, "If it has been done, then I can do it." Okay, that's exactly what we said, right? Then he takes the statement a bit further, and if it's not been done, and if it hasn't been done, I'll be the first to do it. See,
That's interesting.
right? If it has been done, of course I can do it. That statement is not even questionable. It's taken for granted now, right? Done, set in stone. Somebody else did it, I can do it too. But if it's not been done, I'll be the first to do it. And that kind of took me a second to, I was like, man, what a mindset, right? What a killer mindset in that sense, right? Like, okay, it's not just because it's been, and that's where I think this blind faith belief kind of thing. One faith belief is something you see and you believe in, or you've seen it happen and you believe in, which is good. But what makes it what? But even that's extraordinary, right? But what's I felt the second statement was the extraordinary. That meant it's not been done. I have no social proof of it, but something in me tells me that I can do it, and or that it could be done, and I will do it. And I think we've had these conversations before when we have spoken about inventions and things like that, right? Even sometimes
I do.
many
Yeah, yeah,
times,
yeah.
many times I've given this example that because
Uh-huh.
it still blows my mind. Wireless technology, Bluetooth, what? Like what? Right? Who thought of this and how did it came about? But it did. Like it wasn't there before, but it
Yeah.
happened. Somebody said, "I'm going to do it." And again, I forget which book it was about. Henry Ford, right? That the type of engine that he wanted to build. It didn't exist
Yes.
before, right?
Yeah.
So even within this thing, I think there are two aspects of it. There is, and in my mind, the first one has become easy now because, of course, I've been kind of venturing on this thing since the last few years, and so have you. That the first one has become very easy. Like even when somebody tells me, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Man, it's been done before, right? Yeah, it'll be done. Don't worry." It's become that easy, honestly, to believe in that first part. I'm on to the second part now.
Right. I I think I am with you on the same page
Uh-huh.
about this. Yeah, because like belief is a very important factor, right? Like without belief, like what's the point of doing any of this? And uh, to your point, you mentioned athletes, right? Like this sort of reminds me of something we discussed a while back, and it was also
Mhm.
about consistency and boredom, right?
Yes,
You
yes.
remember we talked about boredom, and one of the things that we were talking about was, I don't know which athlete we used, so I'm just going to use Ronaldo as an example,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
right? And we were talking about like this person, despite being top of their field, still has to go to practice every day
Every
and
say
do the
day.
same thing that he's been doing for decades. So how does he not get bored? Because passion can only take you so far, but doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? Because that's what consistency demands. Like in a sport like football, he has to be
Mhm.
consistent with his practice, otherwise he is going to get left behind. It doesn't matter
Done,
how
done.
skilled he is, right? So this is what sort of like I'm trying to get at now, is talking about boredom and
Boredom. Mhm.
consistency, right?
I
So
think,
yeah,
I
why
think
don't you
it's.
kick us off here?
I think this is sorry to kind of interrupt, but I
No, go
think
go ahead, go ahead.
this has been a realization for both of us, even just very recent, right, Uma? Very recently, we have
Yeah,
understood
we did.
that
Yeah.
that boredom is a key aspect of success. I just didn't know that. I always felt, and I think you're with me on the same page because this exact. I'm just gonna go back to the exact conversation that we were having. I was like, man, uh, or we were saying about these athletes, right? Oh, we see them on the screen playing so well, having so much success, right? But we never sit down and think that what are they doing on the daily, right? It's like that Instagram story kind of thing, right? Like we see all the highlights, right? And we just get caught up
Right.
with that. We never think of what this guy was doing throughout the year, each and every day, right? He was waking up at a certain time. He has kicked the ball 1,000 times in the same day, and he has to do that every single day. The day he doesn't, somebody else who's doing it takes over his position. That's how. And again, isn't of course, man. Like we're all humans, bro. We do get bored. Of course, of course. There's no ifs or buts about it. I don't think this is even up for debate. We do get bored, regardless of how much passion you have, bro. Like, regardless of how much passion you have, right? So this concept of boredom, actually, I think we both try to reverse the understanding, and we were talking about how linguistics play a part. Just the word boredom comes, we start thinking negative of it. Oh, that I have to fill this space, right? We're not understanding that boredom is where success lies. Like really, like. So
I
Mhm,
agree with you on the boredom
mhm,
part,
mhm.
because I think like boredom can be leveraged for success. But the pain of boredom is what turns a lot of people away from their dreams and goals, right? Because no one wants to be bored, and we will find quick fixes to entertain ourselves, to keep our mind occupied. No one is going to sit down 2 hours every day, 7 days a week to read a book. After, they might do it for 3 days, they might even do it for a week, but most people give up, right? You know what they say about like habits, right? It takes 2 months to form a habit and 8 months to create a lifestyle. Most people fail within the first 30 days. And I think like about 50% of them fail because they were bored. They don't understand that, you're not like, this is, you might have to correct me on this one. I feel that the word boredom is very liberally used when it comes to consistency. And I think part of the problem is because of what sort of like technologies we have and access to entertainment and information we have, that we are in a constant need to keep our brain occupied. And if it's not occupied, like, I don't want to do this, the dopamine is not hitting me, right? And that's what turns a lot of people away from this one. And I think like you mentioned to me, maybe you did, you might have to remind me, is we sort of talked about like how to sort of overcome this boredom, because it will find you no matter what you do, no matter how passionate you are, it will find you, right? And it will turn you away from like the path of consistency. Do you have any like sort of tricks, or do you have any sort of like solutions you have developed to avoid getting bored, or to avoid you straying away from the path of being consistent?
Like as you say this, honestly, I'm just looking at a solution on my desk right now, because I do like one is a physical solution that I've made, and one's a mental solution that I've made, and I'll share both of them with you. The mental solutions that I've tried to my association with boredom, my understanding of boredom, what the word means, I've changed in my mind. The boredom actually has become the meaning of boredom has become requirement for me. Actually, this is what's required, Ali. It's not boredom. This is what is required of me, for me to sit down, for me to go through, like, this is what is differentiating me right now from the 99% of the people. I'm wholeheartedly listening to something and not going on YouTube shorts for 5-10 minutes and distracting myself. So, so one thing has been the meaning of the word itself, boredom. I actually now get a little bit excited that I'm like, man, I'm getting bored doing this. That means that means I'm really doing it. That means I must be really consistently doing it, because I feel a little bit boredom. But that's one.
So I just want to really pick this up, because I think you said something very important here. So are you saying that in your mind you changed your association with boredom?
100%. Because what do you like when like, even when a kid says, "Hey, I'm bored," right?
Right.
What is he asking? What is he, like, in a way? What is he asking for? He's asking to be entertained,
Yes.
right? Like that. Hey, fill this gap for me, right? But
Right.
I'm saying, man, that in that moment of boredom, right? So I'm saying that I am not like boredom. Actually, boredom has become now more like focused or undistracted. Let's call boredom undistracted. That's how I'm trying to phrase it, right? I am undistracted right now, right? I don't know if that's the correct word. Undistracted, Aman? I'm
I would say, like, let's just go with the word. We'll figure out if it's if it's right or not. But this is no, because you made a very, very good point. Like, and I'm just like, ruminating over it right now in my head. Changing your association with boredom, and you say that because you're doing this, it tells you that you are on the right path, right? That you are doing something that is worth doing. Am I saying that right to you?
100. I feel this way.
So can I just dive a little deeper into this, because I think that anyone that is listening to this, it would be worth understanding. This wasn't something that happened overnight, right? Like this association shift.
No, not overnight.
So can you like, in your mind, like what do you think that led to this, right? Because for a lot of people, like this would be the key to like just sit down and do the work that they need to be doing for the life that they want, right? And people are avoiding that, and you've just given like gold here that change your association with boredom, and I'm just sitting here, yeah, that's right, like, you know, that makes sense because that means I'm doing the right thing. But I want to understand, how did you arrive at that?
Man, it's so no man. The reason I kind of laughed or giggled at that is because the answer the question is the answer, because you know how I figured out this by being bored. I, to be very honest with you, I read this about boredom, and
Right,
right after closing the book, instead of going on YouTube Shorts and distracting myself with something else, I was like,
right,
I'm gonna sit and think about this for a second. Okay. And
okay,
in that boredom, all these visuals came to my mind. I was like, okay, so example, I'll just share a visual with you, right? I was like, man, Khabib Nurmagomedov, the wrestler, right? This guy has achieved so much success, so much championships, this, that, the world knows of him, right? But this
right.
guy has been wrestling every single day of his life and has been following a schedule every single day of his life. Isn't that how, like, and you hear them say, I have to do it. I do this regardless of if I feel it or if I'm feeling it or not feeling it, in if I'm feeling it or not feeling it, right? So then I start thinking, I was like, man, all these people, I only see their highlights, but it's just, it's so shallow of me in a way that I don't see all the hard work that they've put behind the scenes. And that hard work is just doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, like a chess player playing the chess game at the final. You know what that person was doing for the last year every single day, right? He was just playing
Playing,
chess,
yeah,
just
non-stop
playing chess
chess.
non-stop, right? So what is a tennis player doing before his Wimbledon final match? He's just serving all day long. I don't feel like it, but I have to do it. So I was like, man, okay. So success and boredom have a very deep connection, which I've been trying to avoid actually. So I've been trying to avoid a very big part of success, which is boredom is equal to repeated movement, is equal to repeated thoughts, is equal to just like this moment of boredom, that instead of, if I would not have sat down, which people would say, hey, that's boring, right? You just sat down, you're just sitting. Bro,
Hmm.
no, like visually I'm just sitting, but my mind, because I'm not distracted, is able
Right.
to think of these things that I'm just sharing with you, right? So boredom was what made me understand that how good boredom is. Like boredom answered boredom in a way, to be honest with you, right? So this was, I think, this happened for the first, like, not the first time, but this was actually a bit intentional, that I felt that after doing something really great, it's really
Right.
good to give 5 minutes of your time of pacing from going from one thing to the other. Give it
Like
five, 10 minutes gap from moving from one activity to the other. You close the book, don't right away stand up and go do something else, right? Your brain is in a state at that point in time. When you
right.
close the book, when you just sit for 5 minutes, all that information that you just got is doing something inside. Your neurons are firing, they're connecting things in patterns that are very unique to you, because nobody else has those patterns in their minds, right? You, your belief, your faith, your understanding, everything is different than some other person. So that is the point. So the book is somebody else directing you. Boredom is you directing yourself in a way, if you think of it.
I see where you're going with this, and I understand like the concept that you're trying to communicate here regarding boredom. And I love the fact that you said that it was actually intentional, and how boredom itself, you know, answered the question for you, which really says something about, you know, you as a person, because you'd have to still sit through it, right? Like you have to prevent yourself from getting distracted, picking up your phone and start browsing YouTube shorts, or, you know, scrolling on Instagram, because then that takes away from trying to figure out a solution, that takes away from like what it is you're trying to overcome. And you know, that's unnecessary friction introduced. So yes, it really makes a lot of sense to me when you say like, you know, boredom itself answered the question for you. And so do you still like feel the you know, this feeling of boredom whenever you're trying to do something? Do you find that, you know, you struggle with it still?
100%, 100%, bro. I don't think it ever like
Stops,
you.
right?
I don't think it ever stops. I've just minimized. Like even I feel even boredom can become unproductive at a
Yeah,
certain after a certain stretch, right?
right.
So doing the right amount, like anything in life, everything needs to be done in a balanced way. Even the amount of boredom needs to be limited, right? Like before you move on to something exciting, because again, if you're bored too long, then you're uh, just like a muscle. After a while, it gets too drained out, too weak, too like it's the response and the growth is not the same. So this kind of leads me really nicely into the second point that I was trying to make about giving it a time constraint, giving everything a time constraint. When things get
Okay.
a little bit too boring, walk away. That means its time is done. Like and I use this word very carefully. Too boring. Boring is good, right? But too boring is also not good. Then you tend to, especially when you're into a thought process kind of situation, like working out and stuff and practicing might be a little bit different. But when you're, let's say, when you're a thinker, overthinking is not good too, right? And
Yeah,
overthinking will only happen when you sat too long, right? So you
right.
also have to kind of list it. So giving things like, just giving an example, if you're a writer, right? Sitting and staying in front of an empty screen and not being able to write too long will only elongate that period. Same thing happens when people trying to go to bed. Sometimes they're thinking about sleeping so hard, so much for such a long time that they're actually not being able to fall asleep, right? Like what I'm trying to get at is that when you feel that you're bored, that's good. Keep going. When you feel you're too bored, the time is done. It's done. Like example, I'm going to write for half an hour. I wrote for half an hour. Now I'm feeling it. Now I'm feeling it in my neck, man. The ideas are not flowing, but I still have to write. No, bro, it's done. It's done.
So,
Move on to
so
something else.
you would say, like, if I was to sort of like put it into words that effectively communicate this concept, the difference between bored and too bored is when the resistance is stronger than the motivation to continue.
When the let me say it to myself again. When the resistance, no man, say it again.
When the resistance is stronger than the motivation to continue.
Yes, I think you phrase it really nicely, and like, and for this to kind of for the people who would like to visualize this, like when we talk about, not everybody knows this thing, and it's a very niche market. But when we talk about, like, an example would be, let's say, trading, Noman, watching charts,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Every single
You
day.
every single day, right? So when you're watching it for the first hour, an hour or two, you do well. The longer
Yeah.
you sit, the more, what's the term? You overtrade,
You
because,
overtrade. Yeah.
right? And that stems out to, you have overthought your decision making is not the same, because like even studies. Let's say you're reading a book. Let's say you're studying chemistry, right? I believe if you were to study chemistry 8 hours straight, after the 1 or 2 hour mark, the 6 hour one input the giveaway would be so less than what you did in the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
Diminishing
Diminishing,
returns.
diminishing returns, right? So you have to understand that, okay. So that's why I think there's a lot of research saying that take that 10-15 minute break, take that half an hour break. Why? Like, if you were to question it, why? Because that brings you back at, it doesn't take it doesn't make chemistry interesting suddenly. It doesn't, right? That break doesn't do that. But
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
it just brings the boring back to the non-diminishing return part, right? Because we set that foundation that boredom never goes away. If something is boring, it is boring, right?
Right.
It's just that. So actually, I'm thinking this through with you only right now, and that that's why they ask you to take those breaks. It doesn't make the boring unboring. It just makes the boring back to its non-diminishing return part. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
it does make sense. Yeah, that's where I was also going towards with this one. So Ali, there's like, I want to come back to something about like consistency on this one, and I know we've covered some like really important aspects. I think one of the biggest things with consistency is that, for someone that hasn't been consistent in their life, in a lot of areas, and one day you wake up and you decide, hey, I'm going to be consistent from tomorrow onwards with, with so and so, or with this particular task. The problem is that people set such ambitious goals, they set such ambitious targets, that no amount of consistency is going to keep them consistent, right? Like, I can give you as an example, like the first time when I failed at being consistent for working out, what I was aiming for, like, that's something, you'd need an elite level athlete to accomplish. Like, my goal was, I'm going to do 2 workouts a day, right? And I'm going to do it 6 days a week, and I'm only going to take a 1 day break. I managed to do that for about 3 weeks, after which I broke down. Like, I did not come back to working out for almost a year. I think it was like an 8 month break I took. That 3 weeks broke me. So I wasn't realistic with how I wanted to be consistent, right? And I have seen this happen in other areas of my life, and I'm just trying to give some examples because I want to see where this will go. And like with reading, right? Like, you and I were both avid readers. Like, the amount of times we've exchanged books, like, you're like, hey, go read this, or go listen to this, or whatever it is. And I've added so many lists, and I think the last 2 years is when my library has grown quite significantly. And this is the funny thing, that I should say it. It's a bit embarrassing to admit, but when I first came back to reading, right, when I first decided, hey, I'm going to read, and my goal wasn't just to learn, but was just to build the habit of reading, because I social media had completely corrupted my brain. My attention span was of a squirrel. Like, something dropped somewhere, Numan's gone to play with that now, right? He's already given up what he was doing. And so I had this goal that every month I'm going to read 5 books. So you see how unrealistic it is,
True.
just out of the gate. And I tried, and I would pick up, like, and I didn't have like a plan. I did not have any idea of like what I would consume. Like, you talked earlier on where you said that you moved from just reading to being objective based. And I did not have that. So I was just like, yo, find the top 10 books right now in the market and read them. If they're top 10 for a reason,
True.
I may have gotten through like 2 books in a month. And that too, like, I wasn't learning anything. I wasn't absorbing anything, because in my mind, the goal was, I need to finish 5 books. Right. So my association with consistency was completely incorrect. And the outcome that I was hoping to achieve was nowhere near where I was aiming for. And this is one of the things that gets me about consistency, is that people fail because they're not realistic, and they will continue to fail because they overestimate their abilities, they overestimate how much they can achieve in a given time frame, and they overestimate how the world is going to respond to them if they're consistent, right? If I was to ask you, like, when you started your journey of being consistent, did you face such challenges where you were like, as soon as Ali shows up, everybody move? Like, I'm gonna show you how it's done, every single
Bro,
day. Like, did you have that mindset in you?
with like, honestly, with every place, like, I thought that was confidence, right? I show up,
Right.
and that's it. I'm here, right? Not knowing that whether I not not kind of giving respect to the room where people have done bigger, better. So that kind of closes me from so many things, right? I'm not ready to take feedback. I'm not ready to learn. I'm not ready to listen, right? Just because in my mind I'm up there, right? So a lot, like, actually, like, of course, I think everybody as a kid or as a teenager or early teenagers or even like early adulthood kind of goes through this thing that, hey, I'm I'm the shit, like, hey, I'm here, right? And people see it or don't see it, at least they see it in their mind, and then they act this way, and then that has consequences, whatever it may be. But one thing that stood out to me when all of this stuff was happening, and of course, like you, bro, so many times, like, I think you see me even when I university, right? You would see me going to a gym, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
you would see me 3 months go, then 3 months you're seeing me just just eat, and not do nothing, and then
Exactly. Yeah.
suddenly I'm trying. Suddenly, example, I have a girl, and I'm trying to get fit again. Right now, I don't have a girl. Now I'm unfit again. Or example, a trip to Hawaii is coming. So 2 months before that, I will start working out just because I want to look good and uh, shirt off. But then when I'm back, I'm lazy again. Right. So it was just all over the place, bro. It was just all over the place. It's like I never had an understanding of this consistency thing
Right.
as an like everything was for the moment. Like, oh, I need to do this for this moment, not understanding that I need to do this for all the moments. Like all the moments could be beautiful, and that's not just specific moments. And one thing that really stood out to me, like just going back to your trajectory of thoughts. This is by James Clear. It says that you should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than with your current results. Okay.
That is a very good point. That is a very
Right.
good point. Can you say that again?
That you should be far more concerned with your current trajectory than your current results.
Right.
Okay. It's not about that I will have that it's not about how many that one day I'm going to finish two books today, two books tomorrow, and then because as you said, that burns you, right? Daily, am I reading? I'm like sometimes you have to find that calm within yourself too, right? Because of course there are always people ahead of you. There are always people ahead of you, and human nature is as such. You want to go there. You want to go there fast, right? But what's that? What's that saying made famous by?
Bezos?
Yeah. What's that?
Slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
Yes. And I actually believe in that, right?
I
Till the
think
time
it's the greatest thing that Bezos has ever done. It wasn't Amazon, it was this quote because he nailed it with this one, and I was very resistant to it. Sorry, just a slight
yeah,
digression.
please, please.
I was very resistant to the idea because it was Bezos, but I decided one day to let go of my sort of like internal hatred against these kind of things and internalize this, and he is absolutely on the money that slow is smooth, smooth is fast. This haphazardness, this desire to achieve tomorrow, it's doing is creating chaos, it's creating like confusion, and it's not going to make you the person that you want to be. I think this is Bezos, like, I just want to put it out there, this was his greatest achievement. I don't care what anyone else says about this, but continue what you were saying.
So, like, and again, just gonna a slight digression from my point. Even this thing what you said about listening to Bezos, right? Like, if even this thing actually it takes a lot of like, of course, it takes a lot of growth, right? To hear some or to take advice from a
Right.
person you might not be. So, like, just gonna put it out there for people who are listening that it's this thing. One thing that I learned over time was that it's not about who is right; it's about what is right. Okay.
Say
it,
it
it,
again.
it it's not about who is right, it's about what is right. So the right
Nailed
thing
it.
could come because the right thing could come from your enemy, but if it's the right thing, then it's the right thing, bro. Don't hate on it. How could, like, then that's just your ego talking, right? Something amazing has been said or something amazing has been proven, and it was done by a person that you might have some some feelings about, but be true to yourself. He did some, like, and that's why sometimes there are people now that I look at and I'm like, man, you really did what you did, bro. That's amazing. Even though I might have had this vibe towards you at first, but I have to respect where respect is due, right? Like, I have to give kudos where kudos is due in that sense, right? Like, so sorry,
Absolutely. No,
just
no,
that.
I think, yeah, it's you're absolutely right. I think that is one of the biggest measures of growth in a person is when they are able to like sort of, wade through the nonsense, the emotional part, and see what the person on the other side is actually saying and look at that at face value, right? Because everybody has something good to say, everybody has something bad to say, right? You just have to be able to like separate the emotions and take the words at face value. And I think, yeah, it's a big measure of growth. Ali, there's something I wanted to pick up. Like, I think it's worth extremely talking about, because you mentioned this earlier when you were talking about the external versus internal, right? And so the way I want to phrase this is talking about motivation, right? There's internal motivation and then there's external motivation, and they both feed into consistency. My personal belief, and this is strictly my belief, is that if your consistency is reliant on external motivation, and the reason why I'm picking this example is because you mentioned university and going to the gym and then having a girl and you're trying to get fit again, right? That signals to me that it was external motivation, right? And I have never found success with external motivation, like absolutely zero success. Like, I cannot attribute a single dollar that I have right now that has come from external motivation. Everything that I have, wherever I have found success, has come from like internal motivation, whether it is to be a better person, whether it is to be a healthier person, whether it is to be knowledgeable about a certain subject or certain subject matter, whatever it could be. As long as it was internal, I have found limitless success. Now, if I was to ask you the same thing, would you agree with me, or would you say like there might be a balance between the two?
That's like my first instinct is that no, it's all internal. But I'm just trying to, but I'm just trying to think that because we also spoke about the reward system, right? Like
Right.
human loves a reward. Like without a reward, it's hard to continue doing something if you don't see results of it, right? Or if you don't see it in the physical form. And when you talk about physical form, or what people call manifestations of things, right? It does become external, right? So I think there is an external part of it, but let me put it this way: that the the foundation cannot be external, right? The first thing cannot be external.
Can
There
you
could be
explain? Hang on. Can you said the foundation cannot be external. Can you just explain that really quickly so I'm on the
like
same page as you?
so I feel like, of course, as you said, that if it's only external, like all the examples that you gave and all the examples that you gave from my life too, right? Those were very external. Only the external part was there, impressing a girl, being able to take my shirt off at beaches, right? Like just for that moment, kind of like very external, right? But if like and then we spoke about the habit forming and how habits form habits. Like instant rewards are the best way of forming habits, because you really see results, or you really get like a cookie at the end of that thing. So however you form that reward system, that's a whole different conversation. But so sorry, going back to what I was saying, is that the foundation needs to be internal, right? Because the internal desire, entire belief, that's where the foundation needs to be. And the external part, it cannot not be there. The external part will show, you will fall in love with that part too. Just because, imagine, you are working out. Just see the kind of loop, okay? You're working out. It's been a year or two. You've been doing it very internally, for just because of all the internal factors. Now you go out, a guy friend, or let's make it even more intense. A girl comes up to you, go like, no, touches your arm and go like, no man, way to go, bro. Looking really nice, my man. Okay. Now
Right.
it suddenly became external a little bit, right? External got added to the internal part. Now you got validation from the outside as well, right? So now you're playing these both games in your mind. You know that, or you know what? Okay, let me rephrase this, because I think this is key. This is key. That when the internal becomes an outside identity, right? It becomes very easy to maintain the internal. When I'll just say it again, okay? When the internal leads to an external identity, it becomes very easy to maintain the internal.
That's a very nice way of saying it. When the internal leads to an external identity, is that what you said?
Yes. Then
And yeah,
maintaining the internal becomes very easy,
that's a very,
right?
very, very nice phrase right there.
So, because I think I was reading it somewhere. It said that, man, if somebody tells you, no man, you have great hair, bro, your hair is so nice and silky, you would do
Right.
everything in your power to keep your hair nice and silky all the time, right? Because your internal become your external, and now you're stuck in that loop. But that stuck in the loop is what you actually want, because that
Yeah.
makes it very hard to break that loop. Then, right? Hey, Numan, you're a very healthy person. It's hard for you to kind of binge now, just because you know that, man, my identity I formed, and now the world sees it too. So my identity is as such. And what's then the biggest factor of an identity being of a habit sticking with you is if it becomes an identity. It's done. As soon as something becomes an identity, celebrate, bro. It's done. You are that person now. Till the time somebody
So
messes with you.
I think maybe there's a clarification to be added here, is that when you say identity, right? Like there's that internal identity we all have of ourselves, the way we see ourselves, the way we picture ourselves, and I think what you are referring to exactly is that public identity, how other people perceive you, respond to you, see you. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're 100% on point. When that internal becomes the external, or that's what I'm saying. In terms of how other people would, because some people would even talk about this like it's a very big buzzword, but it has so much behind it, and that's a conversation for something else. But when the internal becomes a manifestation, right? Like when your internal identity is being projected out into the world, right? And now people see you the way you saw yourself, or the way you see yourself. When those two things happen, right? That's like, of course, you yourself had made an identity of yourself, but now if the world starts seeing you that way, that's a very high level of identity being set in stone, right? So the external factor of, so kind of just going back to the first thing that you said, that the external part, right? So maybe I think I've digressed to a point that I'm forgetting your main point. If you could just kind of bring me back, Norman.
It's essentially me asking you about how your the internal identity that you have of yourself is separate from the external identity, and when people look at that external identity which matches the internal identity you have after you put in the work via consistency, that is what I'm trying to get at, is that that external validation of that identity you're trying to build to create.
And the key, the thing is that you're not looking for that. Of course, you're not looking for the external
It
validation,
just
or else
happens.
it just happens. Because if you're looking for that, then again the external becomes the first,
Right.
right? And I'm saying that till the time external is the second or the third and never the foundation, it's a whole different story. So the external can never be the foundation. It could be the result of your internal, but it can never be the foundation of your change, or else,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Right? So example, if you know that you're not going to travel to Hawaii anymore again for the beaches, you're never working out again because the external finished. What's
Yeah.
the, right? Oh, man, I worked out for my girlfriend, but now I got married. My girlfriend life is finished. I'm not going to work out, right? So you see, the external can never be the foundation of it. It needs to be
Right.
internal, and then come external. External keeps happening, keeps changing. It can never be dependent on that. That can never be the foundation. That's how
Which
I
is,
feel.
no, I think you're absolutely right. And I think like this is a very important thing that everybody needs to understand about consistency, right? Like no matter what it is that you're trying to be consistent at, like it has to start internally. That has to be the foundation, because everything else, like the external can change tomorrow. You do not control the external, but you control the internal, because that's you, right? Like why you're doing something, what you're hoping to do with it, that comes from you on the inside. It cannot come from the outside. Which is very interesting, because you asked me this question earlier about my working out, right? Where you said like, where I said to you that, well, because I believe I can do it. That was the internal motivation that kept me going, because I believed that I could do it, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. I wasn't trying to prove to anyone. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. Even now that when I wake up and I do my workouts, when I go through all of that pain and that misery of lifting every single day, I never think about like, man, when I take my shirt off, like it's over for everybody. Those thoughts, yeah, those thoughts never cross my head. The only thing that is going in my head is like, man, I hope my form is good. Like I'm lifting a little more today, like or like you see your arm as you're lifting, or you look down on your legs and you're looking at your squat, and like that's internal motivation. It might sound a bit self-serving, but I think this is a very important concept to communicate, that regardless of what it is you're trying to achieve in life, it has to start internally. And I think that is the fastest way where someone can find success with consistency, right? And I want to like extend this example, Ali, just a little bit. It's more a hypothetical. Well, it's not really a hypothetical. There's some truth to it, right? I know you've started multiple successful businesses and you found quite a bit of success in them. And I've seen you in that journey with your businesses. And I remember when, I was inspired by people around me, people like you and people who had started their own businesses. And I'm like, I want to do it, right? I'm going to start my own business and I will become successful. But my motivation was never internal. It wasn't that I can do it or I have something to offer. It was always like, I want to be like them. Right? Like I want what they have. And that's what I was trying to chase. And I never found that success because I never understood, like, why am I doing this in the first place? Like, by the time I'd figured one thing out, all the people around me had already moved on to something else, right? I remember you moved on from one business to another business and I was like, wow, already? That's crazy, right? And I was still struggling to figure out, what am I going to do with my first one, right? And the day I realized that, and this happened, like this when I started finding success in the businesses that I was trying to build, was when it came down to me understanding internally, why am I doing this? And it wasn't about the money. We all love to say that it's the money, right? Like everybody says, like, it's the money. The money is a given. The money will come if you have a successful business. But I think for me, it was the liberation and the appropriation of my time. That for me was the thing that kept me, like, it wakes me up every morning, is when I internally accepted that I am now in control of my own time. Like, I don't have to wake up at 7:30, get on a SkyTrain or take the bus or drive to a office somewhere and then sit there and do things that I don't want to do. That's 8 hours of my day. 8 hours I could spend doing what I want to do, achieving what I want to achieve. And then you find it easy to build these sort of like tiny little habits, right? Those atomic habits would be the right word to use, going back to our author friend here. And at first they don't seem like anything. At first, it seems like, you start asking these questions. Am I doing the right thing? Am I studying the right thing? Which, sort of ties into like moving from just reading a book to like becoming objective based. That's when you start asking these questions. And so sort of like what I'm trying to get at is that if your motivation or if your foundation is external, you don't ask the right questions. You ask the wrong questions. But if it's internal, you start asking the right questions about like, how should I be consistent and what do I need to do to be consistent? Have I sort of made sense to you here?
A lot of
with what
sense.
I've said?
No, a lot. Honestly, some gems in there. Just kind of reflecting as when you said about previous businesses and successes and things, I was actually just kind of thinking that two, three things. Let me just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
So even before, of course, there was a point in time when there's this statement. Remember, we were talking about this Alice in the Wonderland story, right? In which
Right.
Anna asks Alice that, what do you want? She says, no. She says that, which way should I go? He says, oh, that's an interesting question. What do you want? She's like, I don't care, anything. She's like, then he's like, okay, then then choose any way. Why does it matter? Because you don't know where you're going, right? And like the thing is, the point that I'm trying
Right.
to connect is that every business before or every success before was based on money, money, success, money, something. I just want to do something of my own. It could have been literally anything. And people have swayed me into doing stuff that after a year I thought, I was like, man, this is so not me. Why am I, I'm here, I've committed, but it's a drag doing these things, right? And just I was just thinking that with this kind of mindset, at times I had such good people around me, very successful people, but I never actually paid attention or learned why they were successful. I could see, oh, hey, this guy makes how is he making this much money? Right? Example, right? But I never asked the deeper question that what things about him allows him to make this much money.
That's a very good question to ask, and I don't think a lot of people ask that question.
I wasted years of having at times good people around me, but never being able to extract good things from them because I myself never knew what like the guidance wasn't there actually, to be honest with you. So some mentors got wasted, I'll be honest, because they were around me. I could have really understood the mind and the sense of doing things, right? But I just focused on what I just focused on the money part. Oh, this is what you do to make more money. This, but not understanding what is allowing them, what is difference, what is the mindset difference between them and me, that he can actually go and make this happen, even though we're doing the same exact thing. And they're like, you see where I'm trying to go with this, right? That it's been and honestly, it's been very recent that uh that and when you talk about business success and stuff now, you also know the part that many of them have been like a few of them have been let go because of misalignment, right?
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
part I think of it sometimes too, that I'm like, okay. Very recently, I think I was speaking with one of my friends, and he was saying that, "Hey, Ali, I'm thinking of coming onto the entrepreneur side." And of course, that kind of, that I get excited, right, hearing that, and then I want to talk more about it. And then I asked, I was like, "Bro, so what are you thinking?" He's like, "Bro, anything that makes me money." And I had to kind of give him a 2 minute conversation just on that statement itself, right?
right.
I was like, "Man, years will go by if you like unhappy, like not too productive or like misalignment years would go by if this is the thinking that whatever makes me money. Why don't you ask yourself, what is my interest? What is something that I would like to do for a very long time and I'll be very happy doing, right? Forget the money part just for one bit. Because when you're good at something, it's easy for you to figure out how to monetize it at the end of the day, right? Like once you're good at it. So this and I saw myself in this thing, right? Whatever business came or whatever idea a friend would bring to me, he would just between the idea he would talk about the money part, and I now that I look back, my ears were only listening to the money part. Oh, Ali will be able to make this much money if you do this. Okay, I'm doing it, right? But now as I mature and as I see things, I think the first part has more value than what am I doing, not what the money is. Like, so this part I just want to kind of put it out there for young entrepreneurs as well, that focus like this question that anything that makes me money is actually gonna make the journey 5, 6, 10 years longer to the time you realize that, hey, would have been better if I just worked on something that was of good interest to me. You feel what I'm trying to say, right, Oman, over here?
I absolutely understand what you're trying to say, and you're right about that whole money aspect, right? Because it's such a big attractor for people who want success, who want that independence, and they define that by the amount of money they can make, right? Or where there is money to be made, and that's what they chase, and it never gets them there. Sure, some people, there's always like exceptional cases where people find luck in just blindly walking through and stumbling onto success or stumbling onto an opportunity. I completely sort of like understand where you're going with this. So there's a question that I want to ask you here about this, because as you were talking, you mentioned quite a few things about like sort of like looking at what other people were doing, looking at how they'd achieved success. Did you always like come to these questions that you just said, or was it like through trial and error you learned to ask better questions?
Bro, I honestly, I've always thought that I always thought I thought things through, right? So to answer your question, it's only in the recent time that I've understood these things. I'll be very honest with you that giving like just going back to the Jeff Bezos thing, right? I was just the fast guy. Do more, get more done. Do more, do more. But now I
Yeah,
understood
yeah.
that doing less and doing it proper is so much more, is so far better than doing it fast and doing it temporarily. Like this thing, and all of these things, and of course our conversations have helped so much in our, like, because you need the mind. Like, remember one thing, this was from our very long ago conversation, that the the worst thing you can do to a creative mind is ignore it,
Yeah.
right? Or for it, or the worst thing that can happen to a creative mind is not have a place to sharpen it, or to get feedback, or to kind of relieve itself too, right? So I think being having the time to sit in boredom, let's bring that back, right? And just finding time by myself, having those conversations, having those thoughts, just calmly thinking about something and not rushing it, has been a very big factor. And to a point that it's okay to tell people, hey, I will, give me a week or give me a few days to think about it. I'll get back to you, instead of go like, yo, man, this sounds so amazing. Let's get it done now. Right? Go like, man, let me think about it. Right? Because that
Yeah.
that thinking kind of tells you if you really like what's like you want to do or you don't want to. Right? Like,
Yeah.
so
No,
it's,
you're absolutely.
it's
This is a very good point you just made right now. But finish your thought, Alia,
no,
apart
so
from that.
I was just gonna say that yes, it's been very recent that, but like again, it's just been, and this is, and the thing is, the thing that I want to really put out there, that these things don't happen overnight. Even
Yeah.
this, the
Yeah.
understanding is because of this consistency factor that we've been talking about, right? That
Exactly.
if I was not consistent in what I was doing, I was never be able to find these things, because again, to to perfect something, it needs to be like, to perfect a habit first, it needs to be a habit, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm finding these gems as I continue on these things, but I would not have found these things if I would not have done the initial part, which was habits and consistency and reading.
Yeah.
Like so even with reading books, this is just accumulation. The first book didn't do it, the second one didn't do
Yeah.
it, the third one
Yeah.
didn't do it, the fourth one didn't, the fifth one didn't, the 10th one didn't. Now that it's accumulated to a number, I'm just like, now each one has, now that I look back, each one did it. I can only see it now, to be honest with you, that
Yeah.
each one did it. That's why I went back to the very initial books that I was reading, was Atomic Habits, because now I know that what I will see in there. Books are like, honestly, they're a little bit of a mirror. Like, they only reflect
They
to
are.
you, right? They only reflect to you where you are at right now. So now I can extract so much different stuff from it. I can relate to the author even more. First, I only looked at chapters that would help me in that point in time, but now, so it's there's nothing. Let me put it this way: there is nothing as sudden enlightenment, right? Even Buddha had to sit for years in meditation to be enlightened. There is no sudden, people say, oh, it was a sudden realization. I, I don't believe in that. There has to be something leading to that sudden realization, right? It's not just a sudden
I
realization. Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. And I think like there is this sort of like misconception a lot of people have about consistency is that you do it for a short period of time and everything is good, and that suddenly everything will fall into place and realizations will happen and your brain is going to give you solutions to every single problem you have in life. That is not the reality, and that will never be the reality. But then again, exceptions have always existed. Maybe you stumble onto something, like we've said this before, that
Uh-huh.
you read like 100 books and then there's this one sentence in one book that
Mm-hmm.
just sort of like puts everything into place. Yeah, those kind of exceptions happen. But what I wanted to talk about, and you also like just mentioned this perfectly, because that's exactly what I wanted to talk about, was to get to where we are right now, to get to this place of asking the right questions, exploring the right problems, analyzing the right situations, only happened because were consistent with attempting to be consistent, right? This
Mm-hmm.
None of this would have happened if we hadn't started this journey of trying to be consistent with something in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we had given up and gone back to our old ways, I doubt you'd be reading these many books. I doubt there'd be businesses being started. I doubt that you'd have these revelations or these sort of reflections that really act as a mirror to your inside,
Mm-hmm.
to your thinking, to your thoughts. And this is one of my biggest beliefs about consistency is that it's not just about sticking with it, it's about internalizing the fact that this is not some sort of like habit you're building. This is a character trait,
True.
right? this
True.
is this is a character trait that you're trying to sort of like create for yourself. And it's not going to happen overnight, it's not going to happen in a month's time, it's gonna take years. But you have to try and do something every single day until that habit, that muscle becomes strong, and you can do the things that you want to do. And one thing I wanted to add to this sort of like consistency question is the idea that we all tend to start really big when it comes to consistency, right? And I think my lesson that I have learned is that over the years that I have learned, and I know I don't know if like you share the same thing, but anytime I start something new, and I'm talking from a place of like internal foundation, as you've explained, is that anytime I start something new, I make sure the goals are extremely small and manageable. Right. I don't set like ambitious, like, yeah, I'm doing this in a week's time. I will have $1 million in my bank account, or I will have 1 million followers on my social media. Like those metrics are no longer important to me. Like I don't even measure by those metrics. My measure right now is how much can I improve day after day after day. That when I look back at what I did on Monday, is it, compared to what I did on Friday, is Friday better than Mondays? Did I show a tiny amount of improvement? Did I show, some kind of thinking that improved what I was doing? Like that's how I see consistency right now. I don't even like measure the end result. Like that's not even on my radar anymore.
It's I think like this thing very like this concept that you just exactly spoke about. I very recently learned that there's a term to it actually. There's like a
Uh-huh.
it's called the Goldilocks idea or the
The
Goldilocks principle.
Goldilocks, the
Principle.
Goldilocks principle.
Principle.
Explain that to us.
You can really like of course it's just that it's the concept of finding the just right balance, avoiding extremes to find an optimal ground of motivation. If it's too extreme, you will not be motivated. If it's too easy, you will not be motivated. It just needs to be at the right difficulty level, right? Like just
Right.
let me give you a very small example. When are things most fun to do? Example, you're a table tennis player. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
the person that you're playing with is really bad. But let's say you are a good player. Okay, the other person
Hmm.
is really bad. Are you going to have
Right.
fun playing with that person?
Maybe the first time,
Okay,
but that would
maybe
be about it.
that. Okay, now comes a very difficult person of like a pro to a max to pro to a point that you just cannot win. You just cannot win,
Right.
right?
Right.
Is it going to be fun after a while?
No, it's absolute. I think after even the first game, I'd be pretty
Right?
salty.
But if a person comes who has similar level of play as you, where sometimes he
Right.
wins and sometimes you win, where it's a challenge to
Yeah.
win, but there's a possibility of winning. That's where you have the
Right.
most, that's where you perform the best, right? Like
Yeah.
or
That's
something you
yeah.
can do very long, right? So the idea
I
is
see that. Yes.
so the idea is that it has to be at the right level of difficulty. Cannot be too easy, cannot be too hard. It just needs to be manageable, as you said, right? It needs to be a manageable goal. And that I think that's where people lack in terms of because I've always been on the one side of the spectrum, either too easy, either too hard, right? When it's
Yeah.
too easy, then I suddenly make it too hard. When it's too hard, suddenly I make it too easy.
Yeah.
Never finding the right middle ground to it. So and again, how would you know this when you just hear one video saying that be consistent, and then you try consistency and then you give consistency a bad name saying that I tried but it never worked because there are so
Yeah.
small aspects to it that you only learn when you become consistent. Then the very first thing that we said that consistency without feedback loop is shit. To be honest with you,
It is.
right?
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
So you have to so yeah so very recently I came across this term. I was like the Goldilocks principle. It has to be at the right level of difficulty for a game to be interesting for you. That's why sometimes like even like I'll give you a very small example. I tried playing Sudoku, right? And then
Hmm.
I started the easy mode. I went to hard. From hard, I went to ultimate. I skipped the expert. Okay, bro, the game became so frustrating. Before it was so much fun, as I was,
Right.
when it was a good challenge. Then it became so frustrating that I saw that I stopped playing for a few days, and I was like, man. Then this idea came. I was like, man, I made it too difficult for me. I skipped the hard part. The hard is where would I've learned how to move to the ultimate or to expert. Oh, sorry, I skipped the expert to move to the ultimate. If I would have done
Right.
the expert, ultimate would have been easier. But since I jumped the gun and I made it too difficult for me, I lost interest in it.
Yeah.
Don't do that to yourself in
Because
any
basically,
corner of
yeah.
life.
Yeah, that's a very good point to make, right? Like I think understanding your limitations at that particular time in your life is very important. Most people have this, yeah, because we like, and I know we talked about this in the beginning. We have this sort of like ego inside of us, that
Yeah,
overinflated self,
yeah.
like and you and I have laughed quite a bit about this, where we talked about trading when we both first started trading, and now it's been what, 4 or 5 years that we've been talking about trading and practicing and learning, and I remember we had this conversation where we were like, everybody move, like we've entered the market,
Uh-huh,
like we are
uh-huh.
going to show you how it's done. And the first day the market was like, come, give me your money, right? And the next thing you know, you're doing charitable donations to the stock exchange. And that's sort of like where I also learned, because greed is a big factor in that one, and you're trying to get like huge returns. And I think like I can't remember exactly what the time frame was, Ali, and I said this to you at some point, where I was like, Ali, like I'm not making the kind of money I want to be making out of trading.
Uh-huh.
And the first thing you said to me, and I still remember what you said to me, is like, okay, Naman, how much did you put in? And I swear to God, I sat there and I'm like, huh, how much did I put in? Like, what kind of return was I expecting? Right. And you also asked me, like, let's do the math. And I think at that time I was trading options, and I said, like, oh, I bought a $50 option. And like, okay, well, what was the return percentage you were hoping for? $5,000, $50,000? Do you think it's possible? Like, I didn't process like how rare of an event I would need to even get to that level, which in itself is what I would call a cosmic anomaly. But because I wasn't realistic, I had convinced myself that, yeah, if I buy this option, like it's happening, I'm making 5K. Like, what are you even talking about? Right? Because I had such a huge ego, and I had this sort of like huge misconception and sort of like misunderstanding of my own abilities, my own skills, and my own knowledge, that it convoluted my thinking to a point where no amount of consistency could fix that.
True.
Like literally, like no amount of consistency could give me what I wanted, when the entirety of the input and the entirety of the understanding was absolutely wrong. I didn't give myself the right challenge. I went, like you said, I skipped medium, high, and expert. I skipped ultimate. I went straight to market makers. Like, bro, move. Like I need to make $1 million, and they kicked my ass, right? But and I think this is bringing us to what I think is a very important point, is that there's only so much a person can do alone when it comes to consistency, right? And I feel like accountability is a big one. There's self accountability in consistency, which you can have, and then there is like external accountability from like trusted sources who can check in on you and ask you like, hey, you said you were going to do this, how's that going, like how have you reached? But I feel like that can be a problem for some people as well. So I think it might be worth me asking you, you've talked a lot about internal feedback and external feedback, but you haven't talked about accountability and consistency. Like, do you have something to say on that?
Man, it's like this accountability thing. Actually, it's you. I feel that you have to be very like it is like this self accountability. Of course, everybody has access to that, but it's self,
Right.
right? The external
Yeah.
accountability, I feel it's very it's man, it's very hard to like unless you're paying for that
Yeah.
service, right? It's hard to find unpaid service for this,
Right.
right? Like you might be the only one in your friends group who's looking to do this. Others don't care, right?
Yeah.
Till the time your friends group changes, and to attract that friends group, it takes time, or to
It
attract that
does.
circle, it takes time because you have to because one statement that I read, and this is a little slight digression, but not really. It said uh, the easiest way to continue a habit is to be with people to whom that habit is normal too. Sorry, my phrasing is a bit off, but like if
Say that again. Say that again.
the easiest way to keep a habit or to continue a habit or to sustain a habit is to join a circle to whom that habit is normal.
Right, that's very interesting. To whom that habit is normal. So essentially, what you're saying is that your friend groups either support and help you grow, or they keep you down.
True. Like so, if you join a group where all the guys have been going to gym since years and that's what they do, it's not that they're and you have joined the circle now, right? It's the norm for them. So it's very easy for you to upkeep because it's the norm, right? This is what we do. And okay, this is other than you're in a group where you're the only one doing it, then right? Hey, guy, we're going here. Let's do this. We are eating here, but then you have this constant friction and resistance. Constantly, somebody's putting a cake in your face, and you constantly have to fight saying no. That's not the life you want to live. That's a very shitty. Like actually, that's like constant rejection of thing is very tiring too, right? Like so to go back to your thing, the external thing, man, I think it comes first. uh, First you have to be a little bit of that, what you
Hmm.
and then those things come, right? Those people will see you, or you will see them. You will be able to relate with them. They will be able to
Right,
relate with you, and then they might bring you in, or you might be able to make your way in, right? It's hard
right,
for to be honest with you. I remember when we were kids, bro. We had such a 10, 15 years of friendship. We had like there was a really tight group of friends, right? We were always together. We played, and this is very early ages, right? Hide
right,
and seek together 24, like literally always this group was together till the time two of us built a different habit than theirs. Let's say smoking. Okay.
right.
I was
Yes.
no After 6 months, I was in a different group. They were my
Right,
friends, but uh, when we would when we would stand out first, we would stand outside. Let's say outside at the end of the street, we would stand in groups, right? Before I was part of that group, right? Now that I got this habit, the habit was which was not part of that group. I started. I could see my group after 6 months. I could see that I'm standing with a different group, and I see them. I wave to them. We're still friends. It's not that we're not friends, but the group changed, no man. Suddenly, and till today. And then of course that became to something else, and we developed
right,
more habits that were more in tied to the new group that I went to, right? But
right.
so the habit and see and that change happened. How did that happen? I'll be honest with you. The other group person saw me smoking. It's like, oh bro, you smoke too? We smoke too. Let's smoke together. All right.
Yeah.
That's it. A new group.
Yeah. A new group has been formed right now. Yes.
That's right. So sometimes it happens this easy and this naturally, right?
Right.
If you're working out, like example, if you're working, and you have to be a little bit sensible about this too, right? Like if you're working out at home, right? Don't expect to make gym friends. How would you make it, right?
Yeah.
But you could start from home to bring consistency and be smart. That now that you want that circle, now maybe you can even just go to the gym, take a membership for a couple of months, just to be in that circle where with the intention of making friends with working out people. So everything requires nothing like success is not automatic, right?
Right.
Everything is intentional. So you have to understand the intention behind, and then designing that system is the main thing, right? So to answer your question, if you're looking for it, then yes, you can find that external people, but you have to look at the right place, right? That you
Right.
cannot be looking for a gym buddy at a pub, right? Like
Right. Right. Right.
doesn't add up. So, and I kind of like this analogy that and this is maybe something we can bring in our lives too, right, Aman? Like we've been doing uh, certain things in isolation, right? Just because we drifted away from the group, which was because of the habits that we took up, right?
Right.
Like, and now if you want to find our way back to with people who to whom these things are normal too, then we have to go in that environment, and now in a way we will be a little bit accepted and easy to go in that environment because we've built the initial muscles, initial thing to be there, initial foundation to be there is there, right?
Right.
Right. So this is a kind of note to ourselves too, that if this is what we were looking for, then maybe this is the
Uh-huh.
path that we can take with it, right? Okay, I've
Absolutely.
been
Yeah.
I've been working out a year, 2 years at home. I've built the muscle. Now I want same mentality friends. Let me go to the gym for a bit to make those kind of friends. As,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's there's that saying, right? Like if you want to attract the right people, you have to build the right garden, right?
True.
So as long you're building the right garden, you'll find the right people. And I wanted to give you sort of like a real life example on this one because you made some really good points about like how what you do creates this sort of like vibe around you which helps you associate with the right people or brings the right people to your doorstep. When I started working out, I think it was about a year and a half of like working out. Never in my life have I ever been invited by someone to the gym. Never in my life, has someone who's clearly in way better shape than I ever will be complimented me. Like it's never happened. Right. And then when I started working out, when I started getting in shape and started having this confidence around me that I am happy with my body, that I don't care what anyone says, I found that it was easier for people to compliment me, and I wasn't looking for validation, nor was I trying to do anything to get validated. But I got invited by people to come for a workout session with them. They wanted to see what I was doing, if I could give them pointers or they could give me pointers. And I made some random friends like this. And I never expected it to happen. And as you were talking about this, I was thinking about it and I was like, this happened to me and I never gave it a second thought. To me, it was normal then because I had I had accepted this identity that I was working so hard to create, that these things started to seem normal and not out of the ordinary, right? Like it felt like I belong here. Like I belong with this group. Like these are my kind of people. And that's sort of like the power of consistency, right? Like if done the right way, you tend to find the right people to associate with. You tend to find the right situations and the right opportunities. Like they are right there. Like you see them, you recognize them. And I can guarantee you, without any of this, they'd be passing by every single day. They'd just be staring at you right in your face, and you would not know what to do with them because you have no idea what you're looking at. You don't sort of like relate to it. And this for me is the biggest mind shift that I experienced with consistency. Even if I was to ask you, Ali, like this goes back just to when we started talking about, well, not talking about like consistency, but just when you and I started talking on regularly on the phone, right? Like you'd call me once a week and we'd just discuss something. And I think we started with trading first. Right, that's what, and you were sharing your learnings about trading, and I would like go and study them, and then I'd ask you questions, and then I'd show you like, Ali, can you explain this to me? And then we stuck with it, right? And that sort of slowly evolved into deeper areas of our life. And I think like the whole reason any of that happened is because both of us recognized that we were trying to be consistent with something. Right. And we appreciated each other, that I know that Ali is trying to be consistent with what he is doing, and you appreciated that I'm trying to be consistent with what I am doing. So it sort of became like extremely easy for me to like ask you the difficult questions, right? And I know you've asked me some insanely difficult questions about like things that you are experiencing, things that have happened in your life, and how you're seeing certain things. And I remember some of the questions that you asked me, and I was like, yo, that is a very deep question, but we did our best to answer it. right? And I think like
Mhm.
we found success in many areas, especially with some of the answers we uncovered, and I think like that level of accountability gave us a boost in staying consistent that I don't think I would be able to find anywhere else, right? And I think like it's worth mentioning here, Ali, that you
Mhm.
and I went to university together. We've known
Mhm.
each other
Mhm.
since university. It's been what, 15, 16 years now,
Mhm. Mhm.
right? But were we at this level in university? No,
No,
right?
no,
Because
like no, yeah, no, no. Mm-hmm.
right, like but you see the shift that happened, right? And I've questioned this shift so much as to why now, and why is this happening now. Like, there was a long period where we didn't even talk to each other, but
Mm-hmm.
I see it now because the second you said that, like, you attract the right people when you start doing the right things in your life, and the people that vibe with you on that same level, we instantly found each other again,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And I could say that, between you and I know you keep in touch with some other old friends, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't have this same level of like discussion, these questions that I ask, these conversations that I have with anyone else but you, because I feel that, that you and I are on the same page in many things. So this is to your point of like finding the right people. I
Mm-hmm.
found the right person, just like you would say you found the right person,
and then
right?
and then even this even anybody who's listening to this, right, will experience the same now, right?
Yeah,
This is also this conversation is also extension towards towards the same concept of just having the right people listen, having the right people comment,
right.
right? Like in
Yeah,
that sense, because everything like like attracts like at the end of the day, and if you want to attract the like, just become like them. So I know there's a lot of likes in there, but this is how it works, right? Like if you wanna like this is what they talk about in this neuro linguistic programming kind of concept too, right? That if you want somebody to like you, be like them and they will like you, right? It's very
yeah,
easy
yeah,
in that sense. Like, but I'm not talking in terms of manipulation. I'm talking in terms of being true, right? Why at times when you go to a party or so, you spend there are hundreds of people there, but you spend your entire time conversing with just that one person. Why?
yeah,
Right? Because
right.
something because they were on the same page. They were and could be just that in point in life, right? Like so these things and like I just want to kind of go back while you were talking. I was just kind of visualizing that at when I told you about the different group, right? I was
Yeah,
just going into a little bit details of it. That
yeah,
the other group that I went to since I picked up smoking at that age, right?
yeah,
Which thank God is not a part of is not a part of me anymore and not part of my identity at all. But
right.
at that point in time, I went to an older group. It was a few they were a few years older than me. Okay, but when the exam time came, when the time to group with the time came for group studies, I would again approach my older group, right? The same age group, the ones who didn't pick up the habit, the ones that were doing good because I was doing exactly like them before, right? Then I would ask them, I was like, guys, you guys gonna have a group study session? I want in, right? And then for some reason, I would feel the difference when I was with them. It's not that they thought that they thought any lower of me, but they thought different of me. Even when studying, something was different. Like I know this is a little bit too much in detail, but the point that I'm trying to make is that the feeling of belong, like doing this switch doesn't work. You're either here, you're either there.
Yeah,
It's good to be in one place. Just because I now that I'm thinking that when I would go back to them for the group study sessions, right? There was something different. Like they knew that I would take smoking breaks. They knew that uh, uh, they knew their parents would question why Ali needs to go out every 2 hours or hour and hour when those kind of even how their parents looked at me changed.
yeah,
Right? It was like not just something small changed, everything changed. Just literally everything changed. My like a little bit of the identity personality thing change, right? Like, and then of course I'm trying to fit in here, I'm trying to fit in there, but people know what's not, right? So it just one thing that this is complete digression of something. But this is one statement that I remember my father saying to me. He said it very nonchalant, right? But I really feel it today. He said one thing that really resonates with me till today. That Ali, never be confused. Never be confused. And you can take it however you want to take it. But I just took
Mm-hmm.
it as that don't put like do what needs to be done. Don't be confused. Like don't be like this or that. No, like do it wholeheartedly in that sense. Like don't be like the easiest person to manipulate to take advantage of is the person who is confused, to be honest with you. Like let's be real, right? Media does that to us, right? They confuse us and then they take us to a direction, right? So even with people, like even with yourself stuff, like don't be confused about like be confused because confusion causes curiosity, right? But don't stay in the state of confusion for too long, or else then that becomes part of you that he's a confused person. Confused person can be swayed anyway, right? And I think that's
Right.
why, and that's like I think confusion is part of it. You will feel confused even when you're taking up a new identity or trying to do something new. There will be confusion. Is this working? Is this not working? Do I belong? Do I not belong? Just try your best not to be. At least try to get the confusion out of the way as quickly as you can. I know that's a complete digression from what we were talking, but I just felt that
No,
somehow, sorry, I just went back to the past and things were connected that way.
no, I think it's a very good point to make. And I think, like, it's this is the thing with consistency, right? Like, it's not a very singular sort of like ideology. Most people, like, they really strip it apart. They really like make it into this like A to B kind of thing, right? And I don't think that's what consistency is. Consistency is an amalgamation of like hundreds of different things about you as a person and the person you want to be, right? It's not just the habits you'll create, it's not just the character traits you'll have, it's not just the mindset that you're going to have, it's not just the books that you're going to read or like the movies you're going to watch or whatever it is you're going to do. Consistency is a massive thing. And I think like our attempt here is to try and sort of answer not just with what we have learned about consistency from our practices but our own experiences. So to your point of like talking about confusion and like never be confused, I think it is an extremely important point because when you're in the initial stages of consistency, and I'm just trying to tie it back to consistency because I think you made a very good point, and it's very important we tried tie it back to consistency. And I the point that I'm trying to make is that when you initially start this journey of like trying to be consistent with something, there naturally is a lot of confusion, right? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing it as often as I need to be doing it? Am I consuming the right information? Am I producing the right output? And it leads to confusion because you had this entire session where you talked about the internal feedback and the external feedback and the validation and then the accountability. So a lot of people, they find this confusion acts as a major barrier, and they don't know how to overcome this because there is nothing tangible or intangible as a reward in front of them to tell them that they're doing a good job, right? And that's why a lot of people also stop working out consistently because your body doesn't come into shape in a week's time.
True,
It
true.
takes many months of again and again and
And,
like
and
improving your form, right?
and the small things that are happening, the other tiny changes that you're making, like
Yeah.
I just want to just to give it a bigger picture, a real picture. I'm just going to tie two people together. Okay, there's this there's this book called Relentless, right, from Tim Grover, right? This guy is like
Yes.
one of the
Familiar.
guy
Yes.
the guy who's trained one of these the best athletes and this and that, so he knows what what extraordinary performance looks like. So in his book, he mentions that there is no finish line, right? And I really want people to know this. Like with consistency, with progression, with success in life, there is no finish line. It's not that I've made it. No, it's never like that. Because once you've made it, then after that comes the point where you keep going down because done, right? Growth is and you've made it. It's done, right? So there's never a finish line. And to tie it all together, I love like there's a saying by Jim Rohn, right? That motivational speaking guy, Jim Rohn. He says that it's not the goal, it's what you have become in the process is what counts. Okay, it's not the end goal. It's what you became in pursuit of the goal is
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
really is, right? So
That's a
like,
very important point. Yeah.
right, it's like, so see, just on a very bigger aspect of it, let's just kind of visualize this a bit, right? You the let's just say books, okay? Let's just say books for now.
Right.
What you become in pursuit of reading books, you, of course, you become knowledgeable, okay?
Yes.
Suddenly you have a library of books.
Yes.
Suddenly you have so many ideas that you can have, that you can really hold conversations, add to conversations, and you become more likable, let's say. Okay, then you have people around you that see you doing a habit, right? And let's say if you have a family or so, for example, they see you doing something, so young ones mimic you, right? So now you have given other people a good habit as well, right? So, and then in pursuit of that, you have now seen videos, you've watched, now you're reading about authors, you're reading about successful people, you're reading autobiographies, you're expanding on some ideas, you're detecting some ideas, so it's just that in that process of becoming a reader, how many more things happen? Even with the weights thing, you started with one dumbbell, right?
Yeah.
After a few years, you see that you have sets of weights. You have
Exactly. Yes.
you have worked on the working out mentality. You have watched motivational videos to keep you going. You know names of people who have had success, so success becomes even easier because now you've seen other people have success. You just, once you dive into that world, you do accumulate resources and things on the way that keep shaping you. And I think people don't think of those things. They just, as you said, they just look at A and B. There is so much that happens in between, right? That is more important than just from A to B, because there is, honestly, there is no B. It's A and it's infinite. It's infinity after that. Once you start the
Yeah.
process, it's infinity. And that's the beauty of it. If it was limited, then honestly kind of takes the fun away from it. The fun
Exactly.
part is
Right.
that
Because
it's,
then you know what the end game is.
yeah, this way you don't know whether, so the possibility is endless. And human, like, and as a human, as a curious person, as a person who, it kind of makes you, it motivates you more, that man, it's infinite. It can go as far as I can take it, right?
Right.
So that kind of excites you a bit more, because like literally the end goal needs to go away from the mind. It's in pursuit of, and always off, right? Whatever it takes to, yeah. So sorry, but you see what I'm trying to say, right? The things that
No,
get gathered on the way.
yeah, I follow you exactly on this one, and I think you made a very good point here, and it's like what you are in pursuit of and what it does to you during that
Mm,
pursuit. I think
mm,
that's
mm,
very important to recognize, and most people don't because we're so fixated on that external sort of like goal that we're chasing,
mhm,
right? Like, and I know this, like I know for a fact that I am not mistaken. Like, I don't have the data to back me up when I say this,
mhm.
but I know that I'm not bullshitting here when I say that 99% of the people that set out on this journey to be consistent, they're hoping to make as much money as possible, because
Mhm.
that is the biggest motivator for anyone to change
True.
something in their life. And it is also the biggest mistake that anyone ever makes, because it will never work, because that foundation is wrong, that the steps to achieve it are now incorrect, and you're not doing what needs to be done. You're trying to live a life in service of something that will constantly elude you, because you are not on the same page as that. But what I wanted to, like, bring back here, Ali, is just coming back to this whole confusion aspect, right? And you made this extremely wonderful point when you explained to this whole, like, what your identity becomes. And I think, like, one thing I would like to ask you about being confused when it comes to consistency is, what do you do?
Man, like,
You
if
see how,
yeah,
yeah,
even when you ask this question, there's no right, there's no like,
there is,
for
right?
some things we've just been like, honestly, I don't want to say luck, I don't want to say, but like, I do believe in, like, even luck is attracted. I do believe in that, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so like, what to do in that sense is that, honestly, whatever needs to be done, that's how, what I would say. Whatever needs to be done, it could be the wrong thing. For a while, it might be the wrong thing, right? But you will. That's why the feedback thing is so important. right? So that tells you that the thing is, honestly, I'll say it again. Whatever needs to be done, do it. Very soon you will know whether it was an advantage of you or disadvantage of you. And if it was disadvantage, then change it. If it was an advantage, continue it, make it better, do better. But do something. Not doing anything is the worst thing that you can do about it. Sitting confused is the worst thing. I would say, if confused, get more confused. That's okay too. Get more
Yeah,
confused. It's okay,
definitely get more
right?
confused. Yeah,
Confused,
absolutely agree with you on that.
but don't stay at one place and figure out, okay, oh no, get more confused, bro. Out of that confusion, because keep solving something or the other, keep solving something or the other till the time something comes off it. I think that's and I just want to kind of go back to a point that where I might feel that some listeners might say, and I just want to kind of bring this point up because it's like, this is just not like a motivation talk, but something being real, because you and I both come from similar places like this. People must be, of course, a very common question would be, oh, it's very easy said and done, right? This consistency, we have things to do, we have practical
Yeah,
things to do, we have a life to live, we
yeah,
have we have needs to meet. I understand. I really understand, because I understand, like, people are in 9 to 5, and then just addressing one thing at a point. That 9 to 5 could be that, but it really matters also what you do from 5 to 9. Okay, just that part could, after a few years, that 5 to 9 replaces the 9 to 6. I feel,
yes,
right, and
it
for
does.
and,
Yes,
and for people who are parents and families and things like that, even that 5 to 9 is difficult, right? Then you just have to find the if you cannot do the 4 hours of that, half an hour you can do, 15 minutes you can do, 15 minutes, 15 minutes of reading or 15 minutes of doing something in a year becomes, I don't know, do the math, 360 multiplied by 15, how many hours of that thing is that? It does pile up. So the thing is, not doing anything is not an option. Doing something, it might happen after a year. This is one thing that we never know, that when the switch happens. And I just want to go back to one example, Aman. You kind of this one, the ice melting example, right?
yes,
Just gonna tie that one in here. Like, uh, ice melts at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Example. Just like, I think that's what the number is.
okay,
And when I say this, I really want you to kind of imagine this or visualize this. Okay, there's ice sitting inside a room and the ice melts at 32. Okay, the temperature right now is 20. I make it 21. It doesn't. Ice remains what it is, but the temperature did
right,
increase, right?
yeah,
Temperature goes to 25. Again, temperature has increased, but no, ice hasn't
no
changed.
change to the ice. Yeah,
It goes to 27, 28, 29, 30. 30, it goes to 30. Again, temperature has risen from 20 to 30. But anything has happened to the ice yet? Nothing. And you go to
right.
31, you're thinking, man, nothing is happening. Like, everything's the same. You hit 32. What happens that day? At
That's
that
when the
32,
ice melts.
ice
Yeah,
melts. Then you go to 33, 34, the ice melts. Fa- it melts faster.
right,
Exponentially, right? So
right.
even the people who are thinking, man, 50 minutes of doing something every day is not adding up, bro. Just give it some
Yeah,
time. Just give it some time. Give it like anything. I would say, give it a couple of years. If you cannot give something a couple of years, like, build that mentality first. That anything that I do, that I'm going to start, I have to give it a couple of years. After a couple of years, I will know so much of it. I will know so much of how to do it, or of so much of how not to do it. Something will come about, and if you can, and of course, and if you can going back to the ice example, if you can hit that threshold, when the tipping point comes, it's fast. After that,
yeah, it's really fast. Yeah,
it's really really fast. So know this, for anybody listening, know this, that everything that, like, every time you're doing something, you are putting a vote towards yourself becoming that person. And at one day, it will become a majority vote. right?
No, you're absolutely
Right?
right. Yeah, it's
It,
like you have to cross that threshold first, right? You have to get to that threshold, and then you have to have that energy to cross over the threshold. And that can only happen if you continue to do it every single
continue. It's
day,
like even like
right?
let me just kind of phrase it again, because some people also think all the way or no way, right? There's also a understanding of this that, oh, it has to be
Yeah.
so good, so perfect. So I'm just going to add another example to this one so that people so that it makes sense. For a government to change, and for a government I'm meaning a person, okay? For a government to change, do they need 100% of the votes,
No, they don't. Yeah, yeah, it's a very good point. They
right?
don't.
They need what?
Close
Majority,
to 50, yeah, majority, which would be like
majority
what,
votes,
51, 52. Yeah.
right? So you putting a vote towards yourself every day, and one day it will become a majority vote, and the new guy will be president,
I like that. I like how you phrase that.
right?
I like how you phrase. That's a very, very good example, and I think it'll connect with a lot of people because politics is all everybody talks about now. It's a perfect example. So, yeah,
and
you're
then
right. It's a
and then
vote for you every
yeah,
day.
and then the thing is, once you do become president, now the power is with you.
Right. Yeah.
Take it as fast as you want now. The power is with you now. So again, this thing, right? It doesn't have to be 0 or 100. Once you reach that 51 part, you're already winning, bro.
Yeah, you're
Right?
absolutely right. Yeah, this is really. I think it's a wonderful. I think it's one of the best examples we've had so far. Is where you said, vote for yourself every day, and that's what consistency is. You're voting for yourself every day, and I think the first person who has to believe in you has to be you,
Yeah,
right?
like even
And if
presidents
you,
go
yeah,
put they put the even president
yeah,
votes for himself first, right? Go like I'm putting my
exactly right.
right.
Yeah, why would he vote for why sorry, why would they vote for someone else,
So
right? Like
that's
that
right.
wouldn't make any sense. No, that's a wonderful example. I love it.
Mm,
So
mm.
Ali, I think like, we're coming to the close of this. I
Uh-huh.
just have
Uh-huh.
one question I
Of
think that
course.
we both need to sort of like answer individually
Mm.
because, it's I think it's a very important question. And um, for people that are going to start this journey of being consistent at whatever it is they want to be consistent at, whether
Uh-huh.
it's working out, whether it is eating healthy, reading a book, listening to a podcast, whatever it might be, right? Doing a little bit every day in the direction that they want to go in. What in your mind would be the best advice that you could share with someone right now?
Journal it. Pick up a pen
I
and
love
paper.
that. I
Pick up
love
a
that.
pen and paper.
Yeah,
Yeah. A pen
I
and
love that.
a simple pen and paper with saying my journal honestly can change everything. Can change every single thing. Just pick up a pen and paper and just on the top, just write down my consistency journal or things I want to do today. That is it. That is it. Literally, and when I say that is it, I literally mean that is it. And I'll make it easier for people. Every kid, at least from my era, when we used to go to school, there was a homework diary,
Yeah,
right? Every We used to write everything in the homework diary. We used to take it home, and then we used to do
right.
all the things we wrote down. And next day we had to bring it back, saying that okay, all the homework is done, right? Just go back to that level. A homework diary, a daily diary, like because it's something because everybody, most of the people have done this, right? So I'm just trying to add a little bit nostalgia to it so that it becomes a little bit easier kind of to do it because people have like people at some point in life they might have done this, right? Just go back to that. Just today, do nothing on your desk, on your kitchen counter, or wherever, bro. Like I'm not gonna say put it next to your wherever. What to each their own. Just a pen and a book, or like a writing pad. That
Right.
is it. And see the difference. I guarantee
Right.
you, it'll change stuff.
I love that advice. I think it is. I because I journal every day.
Mm.
So I know the impact of this, and I hope to have a session on journaling one day with you. But I think that is timeless advice, and mine isn't, that far off from yours. But what I was gonna say for my part, like the advice that I would offer that worked wonders for me, that made me stick, is creating a little tracker, like a little to-do list, right? Like I used to do this with my workouts, where once I would complete the week, I would then cross it out that I successfully completed all 5 days of the week. And the first few months it doesn't look like much, but once you start seeing the dates add up, right, you're like, wow, I've come so far. And then I would have these sort of like key points where I would say like 100 days of like showing up every day, 200 days of show, and that like was a mental like game changer, because I could visualize the effort that I was putting into showing up every day. Because some things are invisible, right? Like
True,
they
true.
take time. They take time to show. And having this board, and I put this board like right in my bedroom, and I put it right next to my bedroom door, because I wake up and the first thing I see when I go outside my bedroom is that little tracker that's showing me, all the things that I'm tracking. How many days have I worked out, right? What am I achieving next? What am I doing next? I have these little goals, and I have these little sort of like boxes that I can tick off, and it's really kept me on pace. And I think like I highly recommend it for people that, as you said, if either journal it, right? And if you're still someone that is sitting on the fence with journaling, I know a lot of people sit on the fence with journaling, but if you don't want to journal it, then count the days that you have put the work in,
Because
right?
it's and this touch and this and the reason, like, first off, honestly, I believe that the methodology that you said might like, in my mind, it's simpler, right? Because just counting is easier than writing the journal thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
And
to
again,
start with, yes.
yeah, and everybody does their own thing. Somebody might like ticking stuff. Somebody might writing stuff. Again, each brain is different, right? In that sense. But the key I want to kind of put out there is that you cannot change things of which you're not aware of, right? Once you become aware of things, it's easier to change, manipulate, go about it, right? So, because even with your understanding, with your methodology, I see that you're becoming aware of it, right, Oman?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yes, you become really aware of it.
Aware of
Yes,
it.
that's a very good way of phrasing it.
So I think that's the key. Become aware of of your habits, of your changes, of your
Yeah.
goals, of your results, right? And then kind of, and I know we're closing out on this, but this is just note for a future conversation, that it's crazy then how another very big factor, which we will dive deep into, is the idea of gratitude, idea of,
Yes.
right, but we'll dive into that later. But once it's there, once the invisible becomes visible, it changes everything. Once the invisible becomes visible, bro, that's all I'm
Yeah.
gonna quit at that.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's a very good closing point. When the invisible becomes visible, I think it's really, and I really love the idea you use the word aware. I don't think that it's just a strong word. I think it is the perfect word for this, because a lot of people, they're sleepwalking through life. They're sleepwalking through their days, and they're not aware of their actions. They're not aware of their inputs. They're not aware of their outputs. They're just existing. And that's, there's a lot of things that are wrong in the world, and that's pressured a lot of people to just exist right now and not thrive. But you're right, we need to fight back and get that awareness back into our lives. Like and you're right, like I have become more aware. I have become more aware of what I do with my time. I have become more aware of my actions, and sometimes they make me uncomfortable, because I ask myself, hey, should I be doing this? Like, what is this even leading to? Right?
True,
Like,
true.
right? What is this even leading to? Sitting there on the side of the bed and browsing shorts for like an hour? Like, what did I just wasted an hour of my life. I achieved nothing. Not that I have to achieve everything, something every single hour of my life, but I don't want to be doing things that are taking from me. Right. And you're right, like consistency is that thing that sort of like helped me find my awareness again, right? And yeah, I think this has been a wonderful conversation, and I know we digressed here and there quite a bit, but I believe we added a lot of color. I believe we used a lot of really good personal real life examples. So Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, Ali.
Me too,
That
bro.
was
Thank you.
wonderful.
No, thank you for your time as well. And soon
Yeah.
again, of course, soon we'll catch up again. But
Yes, we
call
will.
it a day. Get back to our lives. But again, thank you, Noma, for your time, man. And
All right, man.
speak soon.